Hey guys, and welcome back to Mad About Skin. In today's video, we are talking applying sunscreen like a pro, how to get the most out of your SPF, and how to maximize the protection for whichever product you choose. I wanted to sit down and film this video because on the back of the Gwyneth Paltrow sunscreen saga, where she was seen in her daily skincare routine applying the barest minimum touch of SPF just to the high points of her face, she was called out and read to fill for her application technique, something which I covered in a video which I'll leave a link to up there if you want to know a little bit more about that. But after a lot of people coming to me saying, how should I actually be applying my sunscreen? There's so much information out there. A lot of it conflicts and it can be really difficult to know how to maximize your sun protection. Do not worry, I've got you covered. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking it down and doing 5 simple steps to get the most from your sunscreen and giving you that guaranteed locked-in protection. So if you want to find out a little bit more on how to apply a sunscreen like a pro, keep on watching. I want this video to be as short and concise as possible because really it's not that difficult to apply sunscreen in the correct way when you know how. I also want this video to reach the widest possible audience. There's so much misinformation out there. I want everyone to feel confident using the product that they've chosen to maximize the amount of protection they're getting from the skin. So if you did want to leave a like on this video or share it if you feel able to, then this will really help get this video out there and let's take some of the mystery out of sun protection. I'd love to know as well in the comments below, what is your go-to SPF of the moment? Leave me your recommendations and any that you're fangirling hard over. But let's cut the waffle and start with step number 1. This is going right back to basics and making sure that you choose an SPF which works well for your skin. The best SPFs are the ones that we actually enjoy using. They feel pleasurable, they feel like an enjoyable part of your skincare routine. If that's the case, then you're more likely to use them every single day and you're also more likely to apply enough of the product because if you enjoy it, you're not going to be scrimping and saving on the amount that you actually use. I'd also make sure that you're using a product which has a price point which works for your budget. There is no point reaching out for a super bougie, super luxury and super expensive product that you then have to use really sparingly because you're not going to be getting that protection. A lot of people worry that if the product they're using isn't an SPF of 50, then they're not getting the right level of protection. This is just a rot and we need to just dispel this myth straight away. Most dermatologists and the vast majority of scientific literature out there shows that a minimum SPF 30 applied correctly will give you adequate protection throughout the day. There are some instances where you might have particularly fair skin, you might live in an area of high UV exposure and intensity, and maybe you have some underlying medical conditions which lead to photosensitivity. Those instances you might want to push to go to a higher SPF up to an SPF of 50. But for those of you that have a product that you know and love that's an SPF 30, you can rest assured that if you're applying it correctly, it's giving you all the protection that you need. At its basis, it's super important to make sure you choose an SPF formulation which matches your skin type. My skin is oily, breakout prone, and so I go for a product which is mattifying and isn't going to lead to excess oil throughout the day. If you have drier skin types and maybe you're prone to dehydration, then you're going to want to go for a more hydrating, much more moisturizing formulation. And finding the right one for your skin type is going to add so much benefit to your overall skincare routine. You're going to want to reach for one which is tried, tested, and independently verified, so you know that the SPF that the company advertised on that bottle is the protection that you're getting from the product. Fortunately, I did my homework for you and I pulled together a video of the very best tried, tested and independently verified SPFs, which I'll leave a link to there because there's something for every budget and every skin type, and I break it down to make it really easy to find your perfect match. So that's step 1 complete. Step number 2 is when to apply your SPF. Well, this is easy. I know there's a lot of chatter about before versus after moisturizer and all of that. Let's just break it down and keep it simple. It always goes as your last step in your skincare routine. Every other element of your serums, your creams, your moisturizers, your cleansers all goes before, and then you apply your sunscreen to lock in all that protection at the end. You should always apply your sunscreen between 15 and 20 minutes before you go outside and expose your skin to the highest intensity UV light. This does differ dependent on the type of SPF that you choose, but I always say let's just keep it simple and apply 15 minutes before we leave the house to make sure that it's worked in synergy with your skin and you've got that locked in protection. If you want to apply makeup afterwards, a little bit of concealer work, maybe you want to apply a foundation, that's absolutely fine to apply over the top of your SPF. I would just say give the SPF 5 minutes to sink in and start doing its work before you then apply your makeup products over the top of it. Also, avoid any really intense scrubbing, brushing and blending when you're applying your makeup over the top because that could disturb the SPF. But gentle motions and patting or stamping a product over the top of it will be absolutely fine. Now we come on to step number 3, which is how much to actually apply. This can be so mystifying, and companies make it really difficult to know how much to apply, using terms like apply liberally, use a pea-sized amount, a golf ball amount. What are these amounts? Like, who measure things by peas and golf balls? Absolutely ridiculous. And then you have dermatologists and, beauty influencers and things like that, complicating it further, say use a shot glass full for the whole body, half a teaspoonful. Who has these measurements, and how does this actually apply to day-to-day life? So hopefully I'm going to make it a little bit simple, and how I apply it is make sure that I apply enough that it leaves a visible layer on my skin, and then I work that product in. If you apply enough that it leaves that visible layer on the skin, you know that you're using enough, and then you can work it into the skin to help it to absorb, and so you don't left with that film or that white cast on the skin. I'm going to talk through my application now, and I'm using this. This is the Make Prem UV Defense Me fluid. This is a mineral sunscreen. Like I say, mineral versus chemical, your preference, your choice, whichever works best for your budget and for your skin type. But this works really well. It keeps you matte all day long, and it's just a really, really nice product to use. I'll leave a link to this alongside some of my other recommendations below, but check out that video I linked earlier to find the right one for you. Now, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about a layer. You've got a visible layer on the skin. Obviously, I applied that off camera so I could make sure that was getting every single area. And don't worry, the bits that you think I've missed, I'm going to come on to later. So I just work this product into the skin. You will find with most sunscreens, if they're applicable to your skin type, will blend in nicely after a while. You don't need to be vigorous. It's more like a massage motion than it is a rubbing. And you can just blend that into the skin. Any residual slight white cast will disappear after a while, again, when it's starting to work in synergy with your skin. Once you've got that on, give it a brief minute just to settle down and get everything in, and you can rub in any bits that you might have missed after. Now, step number 4 is to cover the areas we always forget. I treat these as separately because even after, applying sunscreen like this for years and years and years, I still miss certain areas. There's been a huge increase in the incidences of skin cancers on the eyelids and the ears. And that's because when we're applying the product across our skin, we never apply it to those areas. So I like to leave them out and then reapply them afterwards. So take a little bit more on your hand and then just take it across the eyelid. And make sure that you're using a product which doesn't create sensitivity in the eyes, because again, this is one of the main reasons we don't apply in this area. And then show the ears some love. They're actually on the high points of the face where the sun hits directly. So there's some of the areas which can get sun damage quite quickly. I'm not applying it to my neck and to the back of my neck because I've already done that off camera. I'm wearing clothes. I did it straight after the shower to make sure I got that coverage. But of course, at this point, you'd then take it onto your neck and onto the back of your neck and behind the ears as well. But I think separating that step where we cover the ears and the eyelids just means that we guarantee to cover those areas rather than forgetting them like we normally do. Now we come on to step 5, and that's just sit back and relax. This is what I'm talking about, giving it 5 minutes to sink in before we then apply any products on top, such as foundations or concealers. Just let it do its work. Let it work with the skin and absorb before we then put any further products on. Some people at this point would like to put another thin layer on. This is only something I personally do if I'm going to the beach and I'm going to be exposed to high intensity UV. Then I might put another small layer on now. So there you have it, guys, the 5 steps to applying sunscreen like a pro. It's not mystifying. It doesn't need to be difficult. You don't need to be an expert to get the right level of sun protection. I think it's crucial that we're using a product which works for our skin type. This is like at its basis. Choosing the right product and sticking with it. Find one that works for your skin and stick with it, and then you can perfect your application technique. At its basis, you want to make sure that you're leaving enough time before you go outdoors for allowing the product to get into the skin and start working. You also want to make sure that you're covering the areas of the face which we always forget and using the right amount. Don't get out the teaspoon, the shot glass, or all of that. Just make sure that you're covering your skin with a visible layer and then work that in gently. Hopefully you can see now that actually, even though it seemed like quite a lot at the time, it sinks in, and this is a beautifully mattifying one, so I've got no stickiness, no greasiness on the skin, and I know I've got that locked in protection. Hopefully this has taken some of the science and the mystery out of applying sunscreen. Gwyneth, I hope you're watching because this is how to do it properly. I'd love to know your thoughts and feelings, so please share them below along with any of your recommendations. And wherever you are in the world, guys, stay safe, stay well, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye.